It's time to high five and fist bump. A JiuJitsu podcast for the everyday grappler. Let's talk subs. Let's talk positions. Let's talk dominating the mat. Welcome to the Let's Talk JiuJitsu podcast with Raymond Terrence.
Start the recording. Okay, perfect. Okay, so one thing about Skype, it's a pain in the ass when people talk over each other. So this message is mostly for Brian, by the way. So if we can keep to you talk, I talk, you talk, and just try not to cut each other off, it should help. Because there's if we do speak over each other, there's this distorted few seconds, so it's a little bit of a pain in the ass.
I'll do a lot of head nodding and stuff and shaking before I start talking.
How about I just let you moderate?
Okay, cool. Okay, awesome.
We'll see an panelist.
So maybe Joe, tell us a little bit about where you're from, how you got started in jiu-jitsu and kind of your background, and maybe start with that.
Yeah, that's going to be about the first hour of this podcast. I'm born and raised in Ottawa, lived all over the world. I did martial arts pretty much my whole life, but I got started in Brazilian jiu-jitsu when I was in Japan. And fell in love with it, moved to Australia, picked it up with another guy named Damus Fry out of Australia. Had a first mixed martial art fight, would have been in, I want to say the year, March 2000. Came back to Canada, trained with, forgot his name again. Editor. I said Wagner Fabiano, thank you. Wagner Fabiano, yeah. And then with Fabio Holanda. Then I moved down to Dominican Republic. We started an academy with a good friend of mine, Papo Sonier, Academia de la Costa in Dominican Republic. Moved back to Canada about 5 years ago to help my parents out who were getting old. And started an academy here. Wow, must have been back in August, September. I was training out of another gym before that who was kind enough to host me. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Okay, nice. Okay, good. And so you have your own academy in Ottawa now?
Correct.
Okay, and what affiliation is it?
We're a Yamasaki academy.
I've never heard of that. Brian, have you heard of that?
No, I haven't. And I was going to ask him also. I think I saw I saw it in a video or I read it on one of your profiles that you're a Yamasaki Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Now, I wasn't sure if you were saying that was the name of it or if that was the kind of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay, first up, I'm flattered you would stalk me online. But Fernando Yamasaki and Mario Yamasaki, you might know from being UFC refs. So they're
yes, okay.
They're from back in the day with Master Bearing, and they have a bunch of academies, mainly based out of DC, but they have them all over the world, and they were really part of the original story of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Dominican Republic. So when I moved to Dominican Republic and brought on, and my now partner Papo came along and started teaching Jiu-Jitsu with me, it was just a natural affiliation for us, and he's been good to us over the years.
And how does the academy's day-to-day workings compare to how you used to do jiu-jitsu? Do they work a little differently? Do they have a curriculum? Is it a free-for-all and you and the black belts decide what they're teaching on a specific month? Or how does the day-to-day work?
Well, in my case, it works exactly the same as when we're doing it on our own, because we are. Okay. We have the affiliation. We're really happy to raise the flag. We go to see Fernando periodically, catch up. How you doing? I stay in contact with him. But as far as the day-to-day running of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we do that ourselves. Our programs in Dominican Republic are set up as a not-for-profit. So it's it's very much a pay-as-you-can, if you can.
Okay.
And we're really approaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu more as a vehicle for social change than as a business. And we're doing this for 15, 16 years now, if I'm not mistaken. So as far as the day-to-day running of it, we don't really want to impose anybody else to add into all the work it takes us to keep these doors open. So we're pretty much running our own show. We're happy to raise his flag. We're really grateful that he's allowing us to be a part of the Yamasaki Academy family. But we do things our way.
Okay, nice. So were you looking to start your joining did you have a debate where you said, I'm going to start my own thing or with my own name, or I want to affiliate with somebody else? How did you go about that thought process?
By default. To be honest with you, when I started jiu-jitsu, like anyone else, I found an instructor who taught me. He had an affiliation. Damus had an affiliation with Peter DeBean in Australia. So I guess I was a Peter DeBean affiliate. And then as things move along, when I moved to Montreal, it was Wagner Fabiano, and he was Novo União, so we were Novo União. And then he moved to Toronto, so we were on our own for a while with a guy named Ahmad Zahabi, Faraz Zahabi's brother. He was teaching us at Purple Belt. Then Fabio Lana came down, and oh look, now we're BTT. Awesome. So when I moved to Dominican Republic, Yamasaki was the jiu-jitsu that was in Dominican Republic. I mean, to be fair, when I moved down, I didn't know there was jiu-jitsu in Dominican Republic. So I started a small academy, and then I ran into a guy that also did it. Boom, all of a sudden we're working together. And he wanted to move to where I was. And he's like, well, I want to open an academy, but you're already here. I said, here's the keys. You run it. I never wanted to teach. You run it. So how the affiliations worked was more of a coincidence than anything else. I'm what you might call a reverse Creonte, in that my instructors left me.
Because your jiu-jitsu was that bad.
Must be. For some reason, they just keep leaving me, or I keep moving out of the country.
Do you see any benefit between like someone wanting, someone recently gets their black belt, they decide they want to branch out on their own, they maybe talk to their instructor or they don't talk to their instructor? Is there, I can think at the top of my head some benefits of, joining an affiliation or, keeping the one that you have now. Do you see any benefits with staying with an already branded name compared to maybe starting up your own thing like Joe's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Well, I'm going to be careful here because I don't want to make too many enemies. I think it's case specific. I think the old days of I taught you, therefore you're indentured to me forever are coming to an end, and I don't think it can come quickly enough. Harvard University does not want me to keep paying for the rest of my life for my law degree. Mm-hmm. But if your affiliation is actually giving you support, like some of the affiliations do, and there's an actual community in your affiliation, then I don't think it's too much to kick back to your association every now and again. So on the one hand, I don't think it should be an annuity that I pay you for the privilege of running my own academy. I don't agree with that whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But if it's a symbiotic relationship instead of a parasitic relationship where you're giving me value and I'm giving you value and together we're creating more value than we could have together, by all means, support. Now, we're very, very blessed in that because we are a youth at risk program, Fernando's never put his hand out to us. Mm-hmm. He's never said, hey, you want to fly the flag, you got to pay us the money. But I know of some other friends of mine that have affiliations where they're just really paying for the privilege of doing jiu-jitsu. And I don't agree with that. Now, nobody called me at my house and asked me my opinion, but that's my opinion.
So what's your thought process behind jiu-jitsu being a business relationship? Because I know Brian has some thoughts on our last podcast about that when we were talking about jiu-jitsu and different schools' mentalities and affiliations and whatnot. Do you think jiu-jitsu is a business relationship between an instructor and their students, or is it more than that?
I think in the best case, it's both. Now let's put the cards on the table. I have bills to pay. I have rent to pay. I can't open for free. Mm-hmm. But this is someone who's been telling you that we've been giving away jiu-jitsu for free for 16 years now. If you're properly aligned with your students and your community, there's nothing wrong with making a living in jiu-jitsu. Nothing at all. If you're authentic about it. But we're all talking community this week. That's the big hashtag. Community this, community that, community this, community that. For us, it was easy. And I don't say this to be like we're awesome, but we've been aligned with our community from day one because our academies in Dominican Republic have been all about the community. That's the left hand. In the right hand, we also count on the community for support. We count on those people who come in to be able to donate a little bit. We count on when I go give a seminar, we give all the proceeds go to this thing. So people that wouldn't otherwise come to see a seminar from Joe Schmo from Ottawa show up and they give $50 or $60, or some guys will give $100 to support that. So we're very much aligned with the community to begin with. And as such, it's very difficult for us to say, oh, you can't pay this month? Too bad. I don't fault people for running their academy like a business. It doesn't bother me. You do you run your business the way you want to run it. But on the left hand, if that's how you work on the right hand, on the left hand, it's very hard for you to tell me that this is all about community and all about the sport and all about giving back to the community. Those two things can be aligned, but it's your job to align them. That's my thoughts on it.
I think you're absolutely right, Joe. And just to expand a little further on this, Ray, like going back to what we were talking about with Jerry Curl there, what's his name? With Fruxis. What's his name? Forgot his name already.
Jerry Curl. It's okay, yeah. You're 75.
Hold on a second here. Ray, what's his name?
No, I'm gonna let this go a little bit.
I'm gonna. When it comes to me, I'm gonna say it. The guy who's the head of Globetrotters. I don't know if you know, if you're familiar with that,
Christian
Joe.
Graugert.
Sorry.
Christian Graugert.
Yes, that's it, Christian. That's right. So we were talking about this angle before, and he was very much on the side of that it should not be run as so much of a business relationship. He kept referring to business relationship as if it was a bad thing, and I think you're absolutely right. There's nothing wrong with people running it as a business. It can still be a business. Just like any business, you should have good rapport with your clients. And in jiu-jitsu, it's no different. It's actually better because you don't just create a rapport with your clients. Your clients become almost like family. You're really close to them. But it doesn't mean that they have, you're not supposed to charge them. We absolutely have to charge them so that you can make your living, like you said. Now, in your case, in the Dominican, is it fair to say that there's is it because of the income, maybe it's lower over there and people are a little bit more lenient about about what they pay and stuff like that? Does that have anything to do with it? And the other question I had too is, just before we get too far away from it, you had mentioned a few minutes ago about your approach to jiu-jitsu is more of a social change. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, okay, that's a lot of questions. First of all, let me talk a little bit about Christian Graugert, because I knew Christian before he was Globetrotters. Christian came and visited us in Dominican Republic on the world tour he took. I'm actually in his book. I don't come across very well in his book, but I'm actually in his book, Globetrotters. So I've known Christian from back then.
I don't think a lot of people come across very well when Christian talks about them. That's the impression that I got.
But there's one thing else. No, he didn't misquote me. He said this one guy told me, whatever you do, don't bring drugs to the Dominican Republic, which I thought was some pretty good advice. You'll see me in the book. It's fine. But one thing I'll say about Christian, I like Christian. I like what he's done. I think what he's done is really smart. I'm happy to go over the business model of what he's done from the outside with you. But one thing that Christian did that I found lacking across our industry in the last week is he came out early and said to all of his affiliates, and he's got more affiliates than any other affiliation in the world. He just beat Gracie Baja. He came out on social media and said, guys, close. Long before any of us had to, Christian was online. Guys, close your academies.
Yeah, that's true.
And people can criticize him for this or for that. I don't hear a lot of criticism about him, but he got this one right. Mm-hmm. He got this one right from a social standpoint and from a business standpoint. So can
I interject for a second right there? On that point, that's a very good point, Joseph. And I agree with you that was the move. But, however, if you compare Globetrotters to second place Gracie Baja, okay? Gracie Baja, they're not just affiliates. They're not just, Symbiotic Jiu-Jitsu Academy and with John Smith instructor. And then they have an affiliation with Gracie Baja, but there's no real... you don't see the connect. The public doesn't see the actual affiliation. It's a Gracie Baja Academy, and that instructor, the owner of that business, probably pays a royalty to Gracie Baja to be able to use the sign, because they have a storefront sign that says Gracie Baja, everything. It is an actual Gracie Baja Academy, just like it would be any kind of franchise. Now, for Christian, none of them, well, I'm sure he has his own Globetrotter academies, right? But all the 750 affiliates, that's including all the independents that just need somebody to piggyback in order to compete in the IBJJF, right?
Correct.
So it's not really the same thing. I don't agree with the way that they kind of, put that out there, saying that they were the biggest academy or biggest, I don't know how they worded it. Maybe they were right in the way they worded it. They said affiliation or whatever. But people have to understand that 750 affiliations does not mean 750 Globetrotter academies. Whereas 700 Gracie Baja schools, I'm pretty sure that means it's 700 Gracie Baja schools.
Right. And
so it's easier for Christian to say, guys, close your schools, than it is for, in Canada, for Bruno Fernandez to say, guys, everybody close your stores. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, but I'm going to give you the counterpoint on that one. And I love Bruno. I knew Bruno back in the day as well.
Yeah.
Mad respect for Bruno Fernandez. And I don't want to pile on Gracie Baja. I only mention them because they're number 2 as far as affiliations goes.
Yeah.
Almost all of what you just said, I'm not even going to argue with because it's beside the point. What I'm saying is there is a vacuum in leadership. And Christian stepped up and said, guys, close your academies. Now, he doesn't own the academies. He can't tell them what to do. Yeah. But he can use the insanely huge social media platform that he's developed over the last 10 years and come forward early and say, guys, this is what you should do. Now, I would have liked to have seen that from the IBJJF. I didn't. I would have liked to have seen that from the OJA. I didn't. I would have liked to have seen that from the Canadian Jiu-Jitsu Association. I didn't. I would have liked to see that, and I don't know if Gracie Barra did it internally, so I can't judge them.
Right.
Or Henzo Gracie, they did it internally. I can't judge them. I would have liked to have seen that kind of leadership from the top. And even if Gracie Barra, for example, and we're picking on Gracie Barra, but even if Gracie Barra can't tell their affiliates to close or doesn't, they could still come out. Bruno could have come out, or whoever runs Gracie Barra International could have come out and said, guys, this is serious. We need to talk about this. Close your academies.
Yeah.
And it's easy to criticize after the fact.
And we can say that about all the different schools,
Sure.
right? And
all the big names.
Great.
I think it was a lack of leadership across the board.
Example. I just want to make sure that I point that out. If not, I'm going to have a gang of Gracie Barra guys outside of my house waiting to jiu-jitsu my legs. So,
God bless Gracie Barra. I'm just using them as examples solely because I use them as example for number 1 and number 2 as far as Globetrotters goes. But it could be Barra, it could be BTT, it could be Yamasaki, it could be Henzo, it could be any of these guys. And maybe they did internally, and if they did, God bless them. But I didn't see a whole lot of this a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they pretty much, like you said, internally or location by location. I think depending on where they're situated, I think everything progressed at different speeds. Right, this whole pandemic thing, advanced at different speeds. So I think it went probably location by location.
Yeah, and I would say that if you're in a position to lead, follow, get out of the way.
Yeah.
And some of these people are in a position to lead, and I'm going to get off Gracie Barra because it's bad to use one person example. But if I've got 20, 30, 40, 50 schools that look to me for leadership, lead.
Yeah. It's a good point. You're right.
Now, the ship has sailed for being early. The ship has sailed for being first. The ship has sailed for getting out ahead of it.
Yeah.
And we can look months from now when this is over, look back and hand out recriminations all you like. But what are we doing today and what are we doing tomorrow as leaders of our academies and leaders of our communities and on our social platforms? And I think that's the question. Never mind what you did yesterday. I don't care that you were arguing against the shutdowns 3 days ago and calling me a jackass. That's fine. But now you're convinced. What are you doing with that new knowledge now? What are you using your platform for?
Let's get into that. Joe, I'm just curious, what's your professional background?
Wow, all over the place. I came up in the restaurant and bar business.
Oh, nice.
I was managing partner of a hotel in the Dominican Republic. Okay. I was a consultant for foreign investments in Dominican Republic. Mainly did turnarounds of foreign investments gone wrong in Dominican Republic. I taught seminars on sales and on persuasion to executives of the Dominican Central Bank, to big insurance companies. Pretty much that. Jack of all trades, let's call it.
Nice. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this whole virus and COVID and maybe shed some light for some people in the jiu-jitsu community or parents that have kids in the jiu-jitsu community about kind of how this all started and maybe some background on how schools started jumping on the ship about let's close our schools and how that's impacting them and how it's impacting the students. So I know it's a lot to talk about, but the reason why I asked you to come on is because you were the first guy that I saw like really pushing academy owners to make those right decisions and posting and so maybe tell me how you kind of jumped on board with all of that. I mean, everyone's posting saying, hey, you should close, but I mean, when this first came out right away, you were like, do the right thing. Academy owners should close their academy. But I mean, there's more to that than just, hey, close your academy and close the doors, right? Especially if you're an academy owner and that's all you have as income, that's your day-to-day business. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. And thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. I know I annoyed a lot of people, especially in the first few days of it. And I hope by now you've forgiven me for being a jerk about this. I look at it two ways. Two very clear and distinct ways, because there's two ways you make the argument. There's the social responsibility argument, and there's the business argument. And I made both arguments to a lot of gym owners. And the social argument is clear. We don't have to go over it now. It's the right thing to do. Fine, fair enough. We all know that now. There's still a few outliers out there arguing against it, but if you're still against this by now, I'm not even talking anymore. You've opted out of the community. But from the pure business point of view, there was a lot of advice flying around there. Stay open as long as you can. Stay open as long as you can. And what I was telling people was, even if you care literally nothing about your neighbors and your communities, even if you absolutely don't care, and I know we all do, closing now is the only move because the government is going to shut you down in a couple of days. It's going to happen. The only thing you can do is shut down before they shut you down. And at least if you shut down early, you can put that hashtag community and say you're doing it for the good of the community. I tried the best I could to get that point across. And in some cases I failed. And I'm not taking a victory lap because I was right. I mean, I'm choking up a little bit talking about it. And these are competitors of mine I'm talking to. These are not like affiliates of mine. My affiliates, or what I would call affiliates, closed out immediately. But these are people that I compete with on a daily basis that were planning on having kids camps during the school shutdowns. And I'm texting them, I'm talking to them on the phone and being like, this is going to kill you. Someone in your business is going to get coronavirus, whether you shut or not. If you're open, they're going to blame you and you will never come back from this. Mm-hmm. Shut down now before the government shuts you down. Pretend it was your idea. And some did. Some told me no when I first talked to them on Friday and Saturday. No, we're going to keep doing our kids program. But by Sunday, most of them had got the memo. Most of them realized that this was coming whether they wanted to or not, and they got out ahead, and they put the hashtag on community, and they're saying for the good of the community, God bless them. I'm not going to judge the motives. But I would not want to be the last gym to close in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all closed now. They were mandated to close now, right?
They were mandated to close. Do you want to be the gym that was mandated to close? Do you want to be the last Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym to close in Ottawa?
That happened in Quebec, to be honest with you. In Quebec, the one when François Legault said here in Quebec, you have to close. There are certain schools in Montreal that were still open and then posted because François Legault said this, now we're closing. But most were closed a week before that. They had already made that decision that for my community and for my for the safety of everyone, we're closing because that's the decision that we were making. They didn't wait until the last minute until Monsieur Legault said, no, you all need to shut down now. Like we're forcing your hand and now you have to do it.
Right. First of all, it should never have come to that. And I think people need to recognize I don't mean put ashes in your hair and moan and wail and tear your clothing and give me a culpas and beat your chest, but people need to recognize they made the wrong call. Mm-hmm. And the people that were advising those people made the wrong call. And we just need to acknowledge that. Okay, I made the wrong call. What can I do today to start doing things the right way? It doesn't help anybody to say, hey, this school you stayed open until they close you down. This school you stayed open until you close you down. You must be a real jerk. But those schools were taking advice from people, and that advice was poor. And some of the people giving this advice out are now putting themselves in a position of being, hey, let us help you through this. Sign up for my course. I'm sorry. If you have guidance to give to the jiu-jitsu community, to the gym community, put it out there. Just put it out there. Don't make me sign up for your newsletter. Don't make me call in this thing. You have information, put it out there. How about that for your community?
Do you think it's fair to say that there are some academy owners or martial arts school owners that just didn't know what to do? Like they needed the time to figure things out, like money wise, membership wise. Do you think like there's some people who needed those extra days that said to themselves, you know what, I know I need to close, I know I need to do it, but I need to figure things out first? Like, should we give the benefit of the doubt to some of these people?
I think we should give the benefit of the doubt to everybody. To everybody. Some of us know better about a couple of people, but even they, I'm sure they're in the back of their mind, they're like, God damn it, I was wrong on this one. I think not just the benefit of the doubt to a few, to everybody. And, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he was saying it's a tough decision. And I told him, I said, no, it's not a tough decision. It's a painful decision. There is no decision to take. You're going to be closed down sooner or later anyway. What it is painful, and there's a difference there. Mm-hmm. The example I give is if you have gangrene in your finger, you know you got to cut that finger off, but you wait, now you got it in your hand. Then you wait, you got it in your arm. Now it's too late and you die. Is it a tough decision to cut your finger off? Hell no, but it's painful. That's what we had to do in the jiu-jitsu community. That's what we had to do in the jiu-jitsu community. And the frustrating part for me was, one, not having a big enough platform to get that message out. And that's on me. I'm new to the online game. But 2 was the people in the community that I look to for leadership in this, not necessarily friends, peers, let's say, using their platform to advocate for the opposite. If I had 60 schools that looked for me for leadership, I'd have 60 closed schools on Friday. Mm-hmm. Instead, I've now told my academies, don't worry about it. It's nothing, it's nothing, it's nothing. They closed Sunday night, Monday, some of them got closed by the government. The schools in Quebec, I just want to address this point. Sorry if I'm taking over your whole podcast.
Not at all.
You guys, I don't want to say we're surprised by the government, but you have the excuse you didn't see it coming. We saw it happen to you in Quebec. We saw it happen, and we still didn't close. Mm-hmm. What did we think was going to happen? Who's giving you advice to stay open at this point?
Yeah.
I'm talking purely business, never mind social responsibility, anything like that. Mm-hmm. Purely business standpoint, I look across the river in Ottawa, and they're closed. And I'm like, well, I'm going to stay open as long as possible, and I'm going to have my kids camp.
What's the Ontario government doing for small business owners now? Are they doing anything? Has anything been released?
I'm not fully up to speed yet as far as what's going on today, and this moves very quickly, so I'm very hesitant to explain what's going on.
Okay.
But I do know the BDC is accepting applications for small business loans above and below $100,000. And so what I've told a few people online, a few of my friends, is that I have my application in. I put an application in for a small business loan. They're like, well, a loan, it's just interest, it can get underwater. Okay, yes. But no one's saying you have to take the loan. Fill out your paperwork, apply for the loan. And they're not going to approve it in one day anyway. If you need that working capital and they approve you, it's there for you when you need it. You don't have to take it today, you don't have to take it tomorrow. But I got my application in already days ago. Mm-hmm. Now, if the government comes out tomorrow and says, well, we're going to give everybody every small business $50,000, it's not going to happen. But let's say we do. Okay, I don't need my loan from the BDC now, but I'm already in line for it. And when the government actually starts really pouring money into small business, it's probably going to be through programs like the BDC.
Yeah.
So I would say, get on that.
Yeah, I did the same thing from not a business standpoint, from a family standpoint. Our bank was offering a 6-month deferral on mortgages. And I started hearing people that their banks were not letting them do any deferral, or they were allowed to do 1 month. So I called the bank right away, even though I'm like, we're not in a bad situation. Good thing I did though, because my wife works for the city. She was still working. She's pregnant. She's going on mat leave in 2 months, but she's still working. So we still have that going on. So money's coming in. Everything's okay. But I called the bank and I was like, oh, like, you guys, have you ever done this before? They're like, no, this is the first time we ever offered this type of deferral payment, blah, blah, blah. I went through all the details. And we ended up taking it. So we took the 6 month, and worst comes to worst, we don't need it. I called them up and we just canceled the deferral and we continue our payments as normal. And then my wife today gets an email from a coworker saying that the city is talking and everybody at the city who's non-essential is being laid off. So thank God I made that decision that I could take or not take at any point, but I did what I needed to do just to make sure that I was secure, right?
Yeah.
I guess it's the same thing for business owners too. Do the steps that you need to do to give yourself a buffer and a backup, and then decide later on what you're going to do. But if the government's giving you help and they're willing to give you something, a lower interest rate, because all the interest rates are, they're super low now. I mean, do what you have to do now, and then decide later. If you're stuck and you're in a bad situation, at least the option is there.
Yeah. And a couple other things I did that people should really consider. I mean, I own a rental property in Montreal. So the first thing I did was I emailed my tenants and said, hey, if you're stuck, let me know. We can work something out. Now, that sounds really generous on my part, but let's look forward a couple of months. They can't pay their rent. Am I going to evict them? What court is going to evict my tenants for not paying them, for not paying me? Nobody. I can't get an eviction if I wanted it. But I got ahead of it and said, hey, guys, it's tight for everybody. If things go bad, give me a call. We can figure it out. Sent them an email. I turned around and called my landlord at my gym. First thing I did, I sent him an email. I said, hey, here's the situation. I'm in a position and I'm prepared to pay for April's rent. It's coming up. Don't worry. I don't want you to worry the rent's not coming, because I know he has mortgage payments to make as well. Mm-hmm. I said, if this thing draws out, we're going to have to sit down and have a conversation, but we'll work something out between us. Perfect. I sent him that email. Now, we're all as business owners going to have to talk to our leaseholders anyway, to the owners of the buildings anyway. And what I can tell you is your landlord does not want to evict you. And I've been telling this to people online. People are worried, oh, I can't make my rent. I can't make my rent. If you were the landlord, first of all, what court in Ottawa or Montreal is going to allow you to evict a commercial tenant during this crisis? Who's even going to hear the case? Number one. And when it's all over, you show up with a month's rent in front of the judge and say, here's a month's rent. I'm back to paying again. I'm pretty sure both your landlord and the judge are going to agree with you. But more to the point, if my landlord could evict me tomorrow, with no fuss and no muss, where's the lineup of people looking to rent my space
Yeah,
the day after
exactly. That's
tomorrow?
what I was going to say. Exactly.
Yeah.
What he has locked in right now is a tenant who, when things start up again, on day one, is going to be paying him rent. Now, I'm fortunate. My gym members have been. Wow, I'm choking up. My gym members have been awesome. I put the word out. Almost all of them are continuing paying with their paying their memberships. So I'm going to turn around and pay my landlord that. I have one that insisted on paying that I said no because she's a contract worker. So I'm like, no, you can't pay. And I had of all of them, I had three that paused the memberships. And in the defense, they've been with me for like a couple of weeks, so I can't expect anything from them.
Yeah.
I can't expect anything from any of them, but they've all had my back. So because they have my back, how can I not have the back of my tenants in Montreal?
Mm-hmm.
We have I set up a program for one of the restaurants we go to. There's this awesome faux restaurant just around the corner from me. The guy that works there day and night. Day and night he's there. I'm like, hey, when this all gets finished, we're going to get together and have a bunch of faux. So I'm setting up a billing system because these guys aren't set up for online anything. But through my gym billing, I'm telling the guys, if you want, give me $25, give me $50, I'll put it together, and I'll send it off to them. Help me get us cash flow by.
Nice.
And so I got my guys, as we speak, my phone's blowing up. Yeah, count me in. When I'm done with you guys, I'm going to start sending up billing from my billing system. $25, $50, $50. I'm going to end up putting together a few $100 and sending it to the guy. Is that going to keep him in business? Probably not, but it'll help.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're all open again, we're going to walk in the door. We're going to be heroes to this guy. For what? A couple bucks each, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone has to find a way to do their part and to beyond, like jiu-jitsu and closing schools and just the situation itself, people have to find ways to be able to help out their community and help people around them. Like now's the time. Like I was listening to the last Joe Rogan podcast and he said it, he was spot on. He's like, we've been living so long in the same type of environment that we thought that this is the way life is. Everything is beautiful. Everyone's always online and everyone's buying what they want and receiving things next day. And everything's just like normal. And now we actually have to give a shit about our neighbor and give a shit about the people around us. And a lot of people don't know what to do. They don't have the social construct to be able to do what they need to do, right? Because they spend all their time in front of a computer or maybe going to work and then they come home and they're dealing with their kids and they just never had time because of the way that we live our lives now. But now we're being forced, everyone's hand is being forced to be able to do something, like sitting in your house all day and just, going online and figuring out when this virus is going to end. Okay, yes, we're told to stay inside and we have to kind of stay inside and make sure that we're not giving corona to everybody. Even if we don't have it, we don't want to catch it and spread it, and they're advising us we stay inside. But I mean, if you have some type of skill set where you can go outside or help your neighbor or do this or do that, do it. I don't want to toot my own horn, but here in Quebec we're having a really hard time with delivering prescriptions to seniors, especially where we live in the West Island. We have a lot of seniors. The community is aging, and a lot of these seniors, most seniors, won't come out of the house and go to the pharmacy like they normally do and go pick up their medication. So now during the day, I am helping out and I'm delivering medication to the seniors. I'm going door to door. I'm going in seniors' residences. I'm going into apartment buildings. I'm going into homes and I'm delivering prescriptions to people, just because staying at home and sitting in my basement doing podcasts with Brian, who's smoking his cigars and drinking Coca-Cola, there's only so many episodes that I could do of that. So I got to find something else to do. Oh, sugar-free. Oh, okay. I understand now. So again, we're told we have to stay inside and not do anything, but I think we have a social responsibility beyond the online aspect of our everyday lives to do something and to kind of help each other out.
And I think that you've mentioned toot your own horn, but I think more to the point is the platform you have allows you to reach a lot of people. The idea of delivering prescriptions didn't occur to me, right? But the idea of calling my neighbor down the street, my two old neighbors down the street in two different houses, and saying, hey, when it's time for you to go shopping, let me know, I'll shop for you, did occur to me. But I can tell you this, and just for your listeners, calling someone up and saying, give me a call if you need help is not going to work. I worked in the restaurant business. I think Brian did as well, right?
I still do.
Now with the pasta, mia pasta.
When I wanted you to leave your table so I could roll it over for somebody else, I would say, can I get you anything else? When I wanted to upsell you so you'd stay, I'd say, hey, can I get you a chocolate cake?
Yeah.
Telling people if you need something, call me. They are not going to call you. Seniors will not call you for aid. What you need to do, what I would recommend doing rather, not to tell people what they need to do, call them up, tell them you're available to do it, and if they need anything, to give you a call. But the next time you get your grocery shopping ready, give them a call and say, I'm going to the grocery store in about 3 hours. It is no problem for me to pick up extra and drop it off at your house. What can I get you? That they'll say yes to.
Yeah.
That they'll do. And you'll probably, you might not know it or realize it, but if enough people do it, you will save lives just doing that.
It's a good
Every
point.
senior
And it comes back to
roll of toilet paper.
What?
Every senior might need that extra roll of toilet paper.
I literally brought toilet paper to my neighbor yesterday. But this goes back to leadership, and you'll forgive me if I keep hammering on this point. Once again, I don't have the platform, so I have to call people who do have the platform out on what they're doing. I think it's great that people are making videos about how, working out from home and keeping the communities connected. I think that's awesome. And that's great for your business. And it might even be good for your students. They keep interconnected. Mm-hmm. I have a Google Drive. I uploaded a ton of Bernardo Faria's stuff, which we'll talk about. Uploaded a ton of his stuff to the Google Drive. All my students have hours and hours of instructionals from the world champion Bernardo Faria. They don't need it from me. What they need from me is me checking in with them, making sure they're okay, because not everyone handles isolation as well as everybody else. What they need from me is ideas on how they can be of service to their community. That they need. What they need is leadership. I'm a small guy in Ottawa. I can only lead a few people. But some of these guys with all these academies and all these people that follow them and these giant social media platforms, I get it. You want to stay in contact with your members. You want to do the online classes. I think it's a cool thing. But let's call a spade a spade. That's good for your business. Let's also do some good for the community. Because, and here's where we get to Bernardo Faria, there's no distinction between the two when you do it correctly. Now, Bernardo Faria, I saw him last year. He's exactly as nice as you think he is. And he was merciful to me on the mats, which I got to give him credit for. We're going to look back at what he did with BJJ Fanatics as the best business move in our space since Marcelo Garcia started going online with Marcelo Garcia in action. Mm-hmm. What he did was be first, offered his stuff, and now every single person who has his name in his mouth is talking about how wonderful Bernardo Faria is. But what do you do when you go to his website? You go to his website to get his videos. It's not all his videos, just the ones that he does. You get them for free. Awesome. But I've also seen 3-4 other videos that I want to buy from him now. He essentially invited us into his bakery and gave us one free hot cookie. How is that not good business? Mm-hmm. And if that's good business and it's authentic, because I honestly believe Bernardo Faria looked at it and said, this is what I want to do, and it makes good business sense. He's authentic in doing it. And I think we need more authenticity on the ground here with our leadership saying, yes, I get it. We need to keep our businesses running, but a good way to do that is to show people that we can be of service to our community. Because what are our businesses? Our businesses are communities of people. Mm-hmm. So let's put that community to use in the rest of the community. And I'm not saying this to be altruistic. From a purely business point of view, if you care nothing at all about your community, you're still better off advocating for the less fortunate in your community this time. Purely business. That you care about people, excellent. God bless you.
Mm. Were you going to say something, Brian?
Well, I was going to say that whole Bernardo Faria thing and using the bakery as an analogy. Joe, I think you're old enough and you're in business and you probably know the whole give them the pickle analogy. right? I don't remember the guy's name, but there was an older guy. It was probably pretty big, maybe 20 years ago, where he had seminars and everything. And there was, back then, there was CDs you could buy. Corporations were buying these CDs, very expensive, for these, to watch these seminars and show them to their staff. And he opened like a smoked meat place, sandwich place. This is the guy that kind of started, like many years ago, about giving the free pickle with a sandwich, and he was just give him the pickle. So he's the one who kind of started that whole idea, and I carried that everywhere. I worked for Subway, I worked for many different companies as a business consultant, and now I'm a director at where I work now, and we're huge on that. You give them that little bit, and the perceived value of that product it goes so far. And to you, it costs you nothing. You're making a small donation to give to the client, because it's going to come back to you tenfold over the years in gaining that customer.
And even if it's not coming from a place of authenticity, and people can tell the difference, let's be clear, people can tell the difference. But even if it's not coming from a place of authenticity, you're still helping. Fake it.
Yeah, but when it's not coming from a place of authenticity, I think it's like people that do, oh well, if you buy this, we'll give you this free. This has been done so many times. But when a family comes in and there's two kids, and when I was at Subway and I was in a store doing a visit or whatever, and I would grab a couple cookies and give them to the kids. It's a nice gesture. The parents really appreciate it. They know that you're being a salesman, but at the same time, you're saying, hey, your kids are your kids, and I think they'd like a cookie. But at the same time, you're building rapport with that family.
Yes, and the value of that cookie to you compared to the value of that cookie for them,
it's nothing.
Exponentially different.
Absolutely.
And I'll go back to my original point. From a business point of view, if you don't feel it, fake it, because the net effect is still going to be good for your community.
Absolutely.
So what do you think academy owners should do now? Do you have any suggestions for, again, I'm not saying that you're the know everything, but what's your advice for maybe academy owners, since you're kind of in the same boat? Where do academy owners go from here?
Well, I might not be a know-it-all, but I sure play it on the internet. All right. If you haven't already, you need to talk to your landlord, number one. If you haven't already, you need to, and I'm sure everyone has, I hope by now, you need to have an honest conversation with your students and say, hey, if you support our closing, and this is easier if you close before you were forced to, I admit. What I told my students was, if you support my closing the academy, please support the academy while it's closed. At the same time, you have to go out and tell your students, if you can't afford it, if you've lost your job, I don't want your money. Why? Because you're not going to get their money anyway. So may as well get out ahead of it and come across looking nice. And I know I'm pulling the curtain back for all these magical marketing secrets. I don't care. I don't want anybody's money who can't afford to pay. Talk to your landlord, talk to your bank, get your application in for a line of credit. If you don't want the line of credit, get your application in anyway, because you might change your mind. You don't want to wait till the last minute. Some of us have employees. A friend of mine in a different industry laid off 800 people for the day. And part of the rationale, I don't want to speak for this person, part of the rationale was, I can't carry them. And if I reduce their hours, they're better off on unemployment insurance anyway. So she let employment, not before the rush, but got them on unemployment. Her business will probably survive from having contracted those expenses. For gym owners, I don't have employees. I mop my own mats because we're new. If you've got employees, you need to have a frank conversation with the employees and say, are you better off on unemployment insurance? Or are you better off with me cutting your hours? Because I don't need you manning the phones. I don't need you scrubbing the floors. I'm paying you now out of my family's pocket. And you might find that they're better off on unemployment insurance. Mm-hmm. And if it takes a while for them to get on unemployment insurance, cover them while they're waiting. But how long, because this is not 2 weeks, let's be clear. How long can you afford to keep them off unemployment insurance? Do the math. A month? 2 months? 3 months? At what point is it better for everybody to go on unemployment insurance? These are hard decisions. I can't make them for you. But what I can tell you is put your big boy pants on. We can't hide from this. Mm-hmm. You need to be acting now. You need to be talking to your landlord now. You need to be talking to your bank now. You need to be minimizing your expenses now. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, that was the right hand. On the left hand, and I did a post about this the other day, and I started disseminating it amongst my very small, on my very small platform. we're not destroyed. I got this concept from my birth father who I was talking to the other day, and I was pissing and moaning about my investments. I understand that even having investments is a blessing, but I was pissing him on my investments. He said, Joe, all that happened is we got back to where we were when Obama was there. Like, yeah, that's actually true. All the stock market is back to where it was when President Obama was president. And it really put things in different context for me. So I wrote a post about it in a different light. If when you were starting your academy, or let's go back 3 years, I don't know how long you've had an academy, or how long someone's had an academy. Let's say you've been around for a while. If I could take you back to 3 years ago and give you a calling list with all the names of every student you've got since then, every student you've got in the last 3 years, I time travel back 3 years ago and say, here is a list. All you have to do is call these people. They will come in and join your academy. How thrilled would you be? You'd be over the moon.
Mm-hmm.
When you first started your academy, not you in particular, but when you first started your academy, what did you have but hope? Nothing. When you signed your first lease, what did you have but hope? A few students. So your students are still going to be there when this all wears out. They're just looking for a space. So yeah, you're in problems with the bank. The bank's going to understand. You're in problems with the landlord. Your landlord's going to make accommodations. But your student list is the sum total of the value of your business. Everything else is just where you do business. If I lose my lease, and I lose my mats, I go out and get a loan from the bank, I buy new mats, I go to the church basement, I start teaching again. Every single one of my students will be there on the first day. And I start making money and I build up again. And that's what we need to remember. That's where we as gym owners need to understand that we're just where we were 3 years ago. In some cases, 5 years ago. In some cases, last year. In my case, I might end up where I was 6 months ago because we only opened a while ago. This call sheet that I have with the names of all the people who look to me for leadership, who like my jiu-jitsu, who have already given me money for jiu-jitsu. I put that in my pocket. That comes with me anywhere I go.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of message we need to be getting to gym owners right now, is that yes, it's bad and it's going to get worse, but it's going to get better.
Yeah, and stop giving privates and small group trainings too. I still see that going on all over my Facebook page, all over the US and Canada. It's crazy.
If you're closed because of coronavirus and you're giving private lessons, you are playing just the tip with the safety of your community.
I'm looking at it now. It's crazy. I still see posts of people, I'm not going to call them out, but offering private trainings, call me at this number, group trainings, 3 or less people. It's nuts.
I still see people that bad. You go in the underground, people are arguing about it. This is not that bad. Okay, great. It's not that bad. I hope you're right. I really do. But at this stage in the game, at this late stage in the game, if you're not making sacrifices for your community, you've opted out of your community. No other way to look at it. You can be right next week. But for now, you don't get to put other people in your community at risk for your personal interest, or much worse, so you can be right on the internet. If you can't make the sacrifice, at least shut up about it. That's the minimum standard I think we should be having as citizens.
Yeah. Have you heard anything about a lockdown in Ontario, about how everyone's going to be closed for a certain amount of days or a certain amount of weeks, just because there's rumors here in Quebec that have been going around today that there's going to be a 2-week lockdown on all businesses, so everything is going to shut down except for grocery stores and essential services?
I haven't heard a rumor about that, but I'm in de facto lockdown anyway. It's going to affect me exactly zero. Right. These kind of lockdowns are for people who should have done the right thing already.
Yeah.
I was talking to a student of mine. I'm going to get him in trouble right now. I don't care. He works in the parts store of a local motorcycle dealership. He's texting me from work yesterday in Ottawa. There's a motorcycle dealership in my neighborhood that is, as of yesterday, still open. I'm like, go home. What are you thinking? What is your boss thinking? What is your boss's boss thinking? If you're buying parts for your motorcycle yesterday, you deserve to be pedestrian. And if you're selling motorcycle parts, I don't know how you count on the community to back you up.
Yeah.
When push comes to shove. I don't know how you send those flyers out looking for support for the community.
Yeah, I think that's where the government's stepping in now, and they're just going to force it, right? If you don't want to stop, we'll basically force you to stop.
But is that where we're setting the bar as
Yeah.
responsible members of the community, as business owners, that we're going to do the absolute bare minimum the government requires of us? I understood that a week ago. People didn't understand. Today, you're still fighting to stay open?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't think there's, again, apart from Brian walking around with the crowbar and tapping on people's storefront windows and saying, you better close or else I'll be back later on tonight.
No, but we can remember. And I'm not saying we make a list of people we hate, but people are going to remember. No one's going to remember who led. No one's going to care who led. People are going to remember who led in the wrong direction, and people are going to remember who should have led, who didn't. But if you got on the boat late or you got on the boat early, as long as you're on the boat, people will forgive you and people will forget. But they will remember if you were trying to steer the boat in the wrong direction, and they will remember if you refuse to lead. That, yes. And I don't think we need to be tapping on the windows. I just think when they open the doors, we shouldn't be knocking on them. And we need to support the guys who did close first. And I'm going to correct you on something you said about half an hour ago, because you mentioned I was one of the first ones. From in my feed, I'm not sure if he's the first, so I don't want to offend anybody who wasn't first. Elliot Bayev from Open Mat in Toronto was the first guy on my feed to close his gym, and I think he deserves a great deal of credit for being first. I really think he doesn't. I really think that when this all straightens out, people should remember that Elliot in Toronto was first. And other people are going to say, well, I thought about this sooner, I thought about this later, I thought about this, and I could be wrong. Maybe somebody else was first. But he was at least one of the first. He was the first one on my feed. And I think he deserves credit for that. I think other people who have led during this deserve a lot of credit. And unfortunately, I think some people that have led in the wrong direction or refuse to lead really need to look inside and do better.
I agree. Brian, you were going to say something.
Yeah. So rumor has it that you went to Kazakhstan recently. Joe.
Yes.
Yeah. So you went, did you go for an MMA fight? Is that what you did?
I did. In our program in Dominican Republic, Alex Garcia, who fought for the UFC for quite a while, I was his first instructor. Well, actually, a friend of mine was his first instructor for a couple of weeks, and then I took over as his first instructor. And he's been with TriStar ever since he came to Canada. But we got him his first MMA fight. We were training him in the beginning. So he's always been a part of our team in Dominican Republic. And when he was going to go to Kazakhstan, he gave me a call. Let me back it up a little bit. He wanted me to corner him at UFC Ottawa, which I was super stoked to do. But he got injured like 8 days out, so I missed that one. But when he was going to fight in Kazakhstan, he gave me a call. He said, hey, I need you to work my corner. Can you do it? Now, I looked and looked and looked, and I couldn't find a no anywhere in my house. So I went to Kazakhstan. And when I got back from Kazakhstan, was just recently.
Oh, really?
They hadn't given the guidance that if you came from overseas, you should self-quarantine.
Oh, right.
So I didn't get that guidance until I think Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
And you
But
were
as soon as that
back.
guidance came out, I self-quarantined. I haven't left the house since. I mean, I walked around the block, but I haven't left the house since.
When did you get back?
I got back Monday. Not this past Monday, the Monday before. So I'm coming up at the end of my 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. And so that would have been Monday the 9th, right?
I don't have my calendar in front of me. It sounds about
I'm
right.
looking at it right now. So Monday the 9th. That was not last Monday, the Monday before.
Monday night
So-
I came back. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday I was giving class. And now, to be fair, on Wednesday, I was posting about how clean my academy is and how it's probably the safest place you'll be all day. And we're going to monitor the situation. We've all seen those posts. That was me on Wednesday, full disclosure. On Thursday, I woke up, got some more news, started thinking, okay, we're going to have to close this down. I spoke to my wife on Thursday night, and she said, you know what? Talk to your team first. So, okay, that makes sense. I'm not gonna panic. I'll talk to my team first. Friday morning, I woke up and I'm like, yeah, there's no talking to my team. I'm going to tell my team. But I was still in the mindset I want to tell them in person. So I waited till class started at 6, told my team. They were gutted about it. At 7 o'clock, when the wrestling class starts, I was posting online, guys, we're closed.
That was on Friday.
Not that the timetable makes all that much of a difference. That's how quickly things changed. I was in the clean gym brigade. That was me.
Yeah.
Nice little post telling about how I disinfect everything and all the rest of it. So it's not that I'm smarter than anybody else. I was just earlier. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
So you close on Friday, is what you said. Last Friday,
Close on Friday,
today.
Yeah.
Week today, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I regret closing on Friday. I should have closed on Thursday night.
self-quarantine, just like the rest of us?
I'm self-quarantined already. As soon as I got the guidance from the Canadian government that I'm supposed to stay home, that was the end of it.
Yeah.
I'm staying home. Now, my wife had to go to the supermarket, and she picked up some groceries for the neighbor. So the quarantine is not perfect. But except for groceries, that's all she did.
Yeah.
And you have to go out. You can't literally just stay inside your house. You have to go get food. You need to go out. You know what I mean? Like your kids are obviously going to go outside. They're not just going to stay cooped up inside the house. I mean,
but there's outside and there's outside. I have a big yard in the back. We went for a walk around the block. Yeah, we're doing that, of course. But we're not interacting with other people. We're not touching things other people touched.
Right.
And I'm not saying we have to like live in a bubble, but we can minimize our contact with anything that might give us the virus or give someone else the virus. If you, for example, our team, inside of our team in our private page, we have it set up that if any one of us starts feeling a little bit symptomatic, to not have to make the choice between going outside and going without. Let us know. One of us will pick up groceries for you. Is that a perfect system? Of course not, because you can have this virus without being symptomatic. But it's something. It's something that when you get a little tickle in your throat or a little short of breath, that you don't have to make the choice of, I don't think I have it. I need to go out for some food. Call one of the teammates. When he goes next for a shop, he'll pick it up. He'll drop it off at your house. Is it perfectly quarantined? No. Is it better than not doing that? Clearly. And we're doing that inside with our team. And I'm telling all of our team members, call your old neighbors. Make sure they stay home because they're going to be proud. They're not going to want help.
Yeah. Brian, I'm gonna need some Cheetos. Maybe some cottage cheese.
Oh, okay. Not to eat together, I hope.
Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
I'm guessing I'm not the only one that went off the keto diet today.
Oh no. And like I said, my wife is very pregnant, so if she wants chocolate ice cream, I'm out for chocolate ice cream. Corona or no Corona, I am getting chocolate ice cream at the grocery store.
Well, I'll tell you what we're doing for our programs in Dominican Republic, because we have a Dominican Republic and we have a few affiliates in Dominican Republic. And unfortunately, their health system is not as advanced as ours is, and their social structures as far as disseminating news and trust in the government and people really pulling it in as a community is not where it needs to be to combat this virus. And they're a few days behind Ottawa as far as spread of the virus, but it's going to race through there like wildfire. So what we're telling our academy leaders to tell their students who are community leaders, it is time to step up and lead. We need to be down there educating people there, and you'll forgive me if I speak about it now because we're going to publish this down there. We need to be educating people in our community about what's really going on. We need to be having the conversation in Dominican Republic that we in Ottawa and Montreal were having last weekend, and convincing people, hey, this is serious. Hey, close. Hey, close. We need to be telling people in Dominican Republic, wash your hands. Here's how you wash your hands, because not everybody has access to clean potable water. Need to wash your hands. Need to stay away from each other. This is serious. Take it serious. We need to be telling people in Dominican Republic, call your old neighbors who should not be going to the store. Don't hoard groceries. All that kind of thing.
I think most of them probably already know that there's something going on because the resorts are probably empty. There's next to no tourism going on, and that's been going on for a while, right? For the past couple of weeks.
For the last, I would say at most a week.
Okay.
And they know some stuff is going on, but you'd be surprised at how many people. We have people here in Ottawa that are advocating against these measures. Imagine in Dominican Republic how bad it is, and how people. I'm not nothing against Dominicans. I'm a Dominican citizen. I've lived there for years. I love my country. I'm also a Canadian citizen, but so we're not out. We're online educating people, and I don't mean that in like we're better than you educating, but giving out the real information, what the coronavirus is, why we need to practice the social distancing, why we need to be washing our hands, why we need to be taking care of our neighbors, against a lot of cross programming from people being like, oh, this is nonsense, and oh, this is this, and oh, this is that, and Vicks vapor rub on your feet will fix it, or it's just a flu. So that's what I'm using my small platform in Dominican Republic for. And it's hard to gauge how successful it's going to be. even in Ottawa, it's really tough to gauge.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's anything that we as leaders in our communities can do, we need to do it. It's as simple as that. And it doesn't matter who was right and wrong yesterday. There's really only one direction to row in this time. Grab an oar and start.
Yeah, like I was saying, Brian was supposed to be here too in studio, but he's self-quarantined himself due to the fact that he cut himself doing something, or he's going to show us.
The swelling has gone down.
Ooh, that looks bad though.
Oh,
Yeah. So
that looks juicy.
cut, and the cut got infected, and it's been bugging me. It's been kind of like on and off swelling for the past couple of days. But yesterday I decided to, do something, and, I called the clinic, and they actually have really good, much better service on the phone than they do if you go there. So, because they don't want anybody to go there unless it's, really important. So I called, and within 30 minutes, a doctor phoned me and was asking me questions about it. What did it look like? Has it gotten bigger, smaller, this and that, whatever? How does it feel? Do you have any other symptoms, this and that? And obviously I have no other symptoms, but I certainly don't want the infection to spread, on my arm. So she sent a script to my pharmacy, and I went and picked it up a half an hour later.
Yo, that's super cool. I didn't know you did everything over the phone.
Yeah, everything, man. It's in these times, I guess it's good, right? Obviously, I don't think it would be appropriate to do this all the time because people would fake it, whatever, but no, in my case, it was it worked out perfectly. It was very convenient, and it prevented me from going to the clinic, and so.
This coronavirus is going to move us 10 years into the future for everything to do with working from home.
Well,
all the
first it's moving us 10 years into the past, 100 years into the past, and then it's going to move us into the future 10 years.
All these jobs that people say, no, you can't do it from home. You can't do it from home. All these people that are like so grateful they got 1 day a week to work from home, they're all working from home now and doing a decent job of it. So we're going to move forward with this.
Yeah, that's true. So what do you think, are your jiu-jitsu students doing anything at home? Are you guys posting any videos of like jiu-jitsu home trainings that you can do, or?
I'm not posting any videos. Well, I think people are pretty much fed up with hearing from me online, to be honest with you. But I'm not posting any videos of techniques online. First of all, because I'm in quarantine. I'm in home quarantine, number one. But also because, as I mentioned, I have a ton of Bruno Faria's videos that he was kind enough to give away for free that I've loaded up into a Google Drive and shared the link with my students. And what do I have to add to that? Yeah. I've suddenly become obsolete. So I'm using my platform. I'm being evangelical on my platform in the true sense of the word. I'm trying to spread the good word of what we can do to make things better and try to spread a bit of hope to my peers in the industry, rather than teach somebody how to do a triangle that Bernardo Faria can teach 16 times better than me anyway.
Right. Yeah, I like the idea that you had about what you posted about people maybe sharing some seminars once all this is over and doing something for all these students that are at home, not able to do much jiu-jitsu, don't have any training partners when all this is over and the gyms reopen. So that way, we could start sharing some knowledge and bringing some community back together and bring everyone together. And if you're, whatever belt level, or you're a specialist in something, or you're used to doing seminars, and maybe travel, to another school and maybe offer a seminar for another school's students. I thought that was a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, I stole that. 100%. Totally ripped it off. I think Emily Kwok was one of the first ones to point that out on her website, but somebody else was promoting that as well. I think she quoted someone else.
That's cool.
It's some small thing we can do. And I get that gyms in Ottawa, for example, are not going to want me to come teach their students because we're all a little bit worried that, I'm going to lose my students, whatever. But for me to drive to Montreal, it's an hour and a half. Yeah. I come to Fred's Academy and teach something. No one's going to do the hour and a half drive from Fred's Academy to my academy 5 days a week to learn from me. So I think, you're pretty safe. So for me to teach something at Fred's place and for Fred to come teach something at my place is easy. And it's something you might not normally get because, I'm not with BTT affiliate anymore. So maybe something I teach, you guys wouldn't have an opportunity to learn it all.
Yeah. If you guys have any students that want to learn how to do 2 rolls and then have to take 2 rolls off, Brian can come teach that seminar for you guys.
You're laughing. When I teach competition classes, when I get ready for competition classes, we do 6 on, 6 off. We don't do those round after round after round after round nonsense because you're never going to compete that way. The minimum break you're going to have is going to be 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes, depending on what your category is. So when I'm training for competition, it's 6 on, 6 off. You come in fresh, you go hard, and you rest for 6. So Brian, old man jiu-jitsu is the way to go.
Yeah. Well, look, you know what? We laugh about it, but I agree with you, Joe. Obviously, we don't, in competition, you don't roll that many times in a row. But I think as I do, I think a lot of people, they appreciate the workout too, right? So I don't mind, there's 4 or 5 rolls in a night. When I first started, I would do 1 roll and then I would be gasping for air for the rest of the time. But as I, continue to train and continue to go, now I'm happy to say that I can actually do all 4 or 5 rolls. Sometimes I'll skip one, take a break, but it's for the exercise. Ray, shut up.
Sure. But that's a different style of training, though. That's just your regular everyday training where you're getting that regular. Of course, I love to roll. On Saturday open mats, we actually go to a different gym for open mats. Arcana is very good friends of ours. They're nice enough to open the doors. We go there so our guys can roll with new people. And, I'll do as many rolls as I can in a row. But that's not competition training. And I know some of the world champions will disagree with me, and they're probably right, and I'm probably wrong. But I like to train how I'm going to compete. And George St. Pierre said it best. He says, I do 5 rounds of 5, and I'm done. Because that's all he has to fight for.
Yeah.
So he's not holding out energy for that 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th round. Right. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not holding back in the 4th minute of my round because I know I got another round coming up right away.
Yeah. Well, hell, I think but some people would say different. I mean, if you look at, like Tony Ferguson and who's that Mexican heavyweight? What's his name? Cain Velasquez. Like these guys all have crazy cardio. And I'm sure it's because they roll like endlessly and they build it up. And it's actually a huge advantage for them in their MMA careers, right?
And I could be 100% wrong, and I'm well open to being wrong. But I look at it this way. Sprinters don't run marathons. They sprint.
Yeah.
You don't need the extra 100 meters if you're running 100 meters.
You're right, yeah.
And you're going to adapt how you train to what you have to do. And if I know I'm going to roll straight for 30 minutes, and my next roll is going to be with you, and my next roll is going to be with you, and then my next roll is going to be with Fabio Holanda, I'm already looking at Fabio Holanda and knowing I'm going to get mauled in that one. So I'm going to take it easier on you and take a little easier on you too, because I know I got that coming. Yeah. But if I roll with you and I got that break for 6 minutes, I'm going to put the gears in. Yeah. And then I'm going to roll with you and I'm going to put the gears in. And then I'm going to have 6 minutes break and I'm going to go roll with Fabio Holanda and he's going to beat my ass.
Yeah.
But at least I'll be able to roll then. So while I do admit that these people know what they're doing a lot better than I do, I haven't been convinced yet that training differently than you compete in a fundamental way is the right way to go. Now, I might come on your podcast next year and be like, guys, 100% wrong. All right. Newsflash, won't be the first time I was wrong.
Hey, I'm curious. Do you have any black belts at your academy in Ottawa?
In Dominican Republic or here?
Here.
Here in Ottawa? No. I'm the black belt on the mats, and we don't have any more. But mind you, my program is only a couple of years old. Like I said, I started at another academy, and then I opened up my own.
Right.
But we have some solid guys.
Okay, good.
I don't want to brag, but I would take one of my 2-year guys, one of my average 2-year guys, and put it against an average 2-year guy from another gym, and we'll do well.
You do okay. Nice.
Okay. We got a great group, and our guys are really loving jiu-jitsu, and everyone loves their own academy. Everyone loves their own people. I'm not saying mine's better than anybody else, but we have a real solid, tight team that comes from building small and being still new, and everybody's like still really keen and into it. We don't have 200, 300, 400 students on the rolls. Everybody knows everybody. And I'm really, while we are growing quickly, I know I'm going to miss this nascent phase of the academy where everybody knows everybody, or everybody's friends with everybody. Mm-hmm. You get 100 people, 200 people, it's great for the business, but people start to get lost in the crowd. They don't get that personalized training, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
All you can do is really encourage your upper belts to mentor the lower belts. And that's got to start on day one. Like already my blue belts, they're taking leadership roles in the academy, and we don't have that many people. But our blue belts are already pairing off with brand new people and, making sure they come along. And it's a great vibe in our gym.
Yeah, I've been trying to do the same thing. I usually nestle Brian around this section here and rock him back and forth before the training starts, and then I just let him go. Just let
we laugh. Culture comes to the top.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Culture
It's
comes
true.
to the top. And
Yeah.
if you've got a gym culture that's a little bit less than you'd want it to be, you really need to look inward for that.
Yeah, no, I have to say that we have something really good going too. And even with Fred's expansion and everything that he's been doing and opening up the second academy, and he has tons of kids and tons of adults now, and he's really really growing really fast, that we're still able to keep that family approach and how everyone, talks to everybody, even though you don't see each other as often as you normally would, because we're growing and you have to offer more classes and people are training in different time slots and it's a little all over the place, that it really starts at the top. And if you have that family mentality and you have that good leadership, even while growing, you should be able to keep a strong base of those strong values. So.
And if that's the case, that's a real testament to Fred. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not surprised. I knew Fred back in the day. He always struck me as a stand-up guy.
Yeah, no, he is. He is. Okay, well, I have to go install some gym mats. I acquired from the old Sherbatov gym. Cynthia's uncle, I just found out, owned a commercial building in Laval where Sherbatov was there. They were there for 6 years, and they just recently moved a couple months ago to a new location, and they left all of their mats. So he sold me a bunch of them. So I went over there this morning, put a bunch in my truck. I washed them. They're drying, and I got to go set those up in my basement. So that way I could do some guard passing and some fundamentals for Brian, so he has something to do while he's at home.
Rain day today.
Hey, let me add one thing before you throw me off.
Brian's jiu-jitsu, by the way, I tease him about it. Brian's jiu-jitsu is very legit, just throwing it out there. He's a very strong purple belt, but because he's old and he drinks Coca-Cola Zero and he smokes cigars, I have to tease him about it.
It would have to be solid to defend his old ass. let me get one point in before you throw me off this podcast.
Yeah.
We're all going to be Christmas shopping by November.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got extra money in your pocket, head to local shops. I know they're closed, but get online. They all have Facebook profiles. Buy a gift certificate now. It's going to help them out in the future. You're going to give them your money anyway. Do it now when they need it, rather than back in November.
Yep. Good point. Good point.
Get
Brian,
them on Facebook.
Do you have anything to close us on, Brian?
No, it's cool. I think Joe's got a lot to share, and I think this, he'd be a great guest to have on again on another day, or maybe on another podcast.
Shut up. Brian, by the way, is starting his own podcast, and it's taking some time because he wants to perfect it in every possible way. I have a nice T-shirt of it. Actually, he's wearing the hat of it right now. Do you have any? Is that coming out soon, Brian? What's going on?
Well, look, as you know, I'm still in the research stages, but a guy like Joe, you're not a two-dimensional guy. I did see online that there's a lot in the business world that you're very active in terms of speaking and doing seminars, and you seem to have a lot of knowledge. And because I'm in the business world myself, I think it'd be an interesting podcast. Now, the podcast itself it's not about business. It's about it's about everything and how we can connect it to psychology, basically. So the psychology of business, the psychology of specific sports training, the psychology of jiu-jitsu, even the psychology of whatever. So I think it might be an interesting podcast. So if you're open to that, I'd love to do a podcast with you one day.
I think if there's one thing I've shown over this past week and over this last hour is that I'm not afraid of my own voice.
Yeah.
So getting me on your podcast is not going to be any harder than just inviting me.
Great.
Okay, guys. Well, have a good weekend, and I hope not to see you in the next couple days, but hopefully in the next coming months, once everything passes and reopens. Joe, I already threw that invite for you. I'd love to come to your school, and we could do something together, and we can get some training going. And let's hook something up, and I'll see if I can get Brian to come with me.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for letting me share your platform and getting the word out. I really, really appreciate it, and you're doing good work.
Thanks for being on. Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Hey, Joe.
Peace, guys.
You've been listening to Let's Talk Jiu-Jitsu with Raymond Terrence. Go follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. Turn on notifications and press that like button. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the mats.